Max 1, there it is. Again, this is what we're looking at just to the west and southwest of Sunbright. Again, this is a broad rotation. You need to be in your safe place in Sunbright in northern Morgan County and along Highway 27 between Sunbright, Robbins, eventually toward Norma. What we're looking at is some broad rotation right here just southwest of Sunbright. But if it tightens up a little bit more, again, this could become more of a damaging, potentially tornadic severe thunderstorm. So that's what we're looking at right now. It could be a funnel cloud aloft. We don't have any confirmations on the ground. It's radar indicated, but that's what we're looking at right now as that storm continues to track off to the north and east. So again, Sunbright, we need you to be in your safe place. We have a rotation that's indicated Deer Lodge Highway, Burrville Road, and I mentioned Highway 27. So if you live anywhere along and near Sunbright and Deer Lodge and continuing up toward Rugby and continuing toward Robbins. Again, let me kind of move the map over a little bit more. Again, this storm track is continuing to make its way off to the north and east very quickly from near Sunbright right now, heading toward Norma and Robbins, and that's the future track. So northern Morgan County, Scott County. I mentioned being in your safe place. Where is that? Well, number one, it's on the lowest floor of your sturdy home or building. If you live in a mobile home, it's recommended to try to seek more sturdy structure if you can, okay? And it needs to have tie downs on it. But that's what we're looking at right now. Again, your safe place is a basement or the lowest floor. If you have an upstairs and downstairs, it's downstairs, away from windows. In the middle part of a house is what's recommended, a bathroom, hallway, or a closet. And that's what we're looking at, to be away from those outer walls and windows, a small interior room. So again, that's the information we have right now. We don't have any other information as far as, damage or on the ground or anything like that. So we are looking at, again, those storms that continue to track from northern Morgan County into Scott County right here. And again, Deer Lodge Highway, Burrville Road, Sunbright, this storm will continue to move from northern Morgan County into Scott County. If you're just tuning in, yes, we have a 10 weather impact day, and we have our first warning in the Channel 10 viewing area. It's a tornado warning. It does include Morgan, Scott, and Campbell County. So again, I've done the arrow here. This is the future track. It's near Sunbright right now. We could be looking at some hail on the northern side of this. This is likely the circulation back in here. But again, the next update is going to have it like that. Pretty quickly. It's moving northeast at 55 miles per hour. So possible tornado in northern Morgan County, moving northeast at 55 miles per hour into Scott County shortly, and eventually into Campbell County. National Weather Service in Morristown issuing 3 different counties for the expected future track and movement of this tornadic cell. So again, Cassie Nall in the Channel 10 Weather Center, and we're going to track this storm. We're going to show you velocity, and we'll take a look at that. We'll sample that. We'll go ahead and give you an updated storm track as we're seeing this storm continuing, again, to make its way off to the north and east. So as I mentioned, Sunbright, this is some of that rotation we're seeing right there. Again, Deer Lodge Highway, Highway 27. Again, this storm is going to accelerate. So as I mentioned, if you're in Sunbright, again, if you can take your mobile device, hopefully it's charged up, your tablet, and have a way to receive warnings. But if we're streaming as well, if you can continue to watch us and go to your safe place if you live in Sunbright and Rugby and Norma, I want you to go ahead and do that. And then wait till the storm passes and you'll be in good shape. But a small interior room, bathroom, hallway, or closet, away from the outer walls and windows, downstairs. And again, that's what's recommended whenever we have any type of tornadic storm or some dangerous weather moving in. You always know where you're going, your safe place, okay? And so that's what we're doing right now. Morgan County into Scott County. These are the communities. Again, it's near Sunbright right now as we speak, and it's going to continue to move from the Sunbright High School, close there, and continuing to track, again, from Morgan into Scott County. This is the Morgan and Scott County line right here. Here's Highway 27. And again, as Cassie's zooming on in, again, this is an indication of, this is, it's got broad rotation, what we're seeing. It's a possible tornado. It's radar indicated. Could be a funnel cloud aloft, but doesn't really matter. If you have strong enough winds to give an indication of rotation, you could be seeing some damage. Wow. And that kind of tells the story right there. We got very heavy rainfall. Could be looking at some hail. We'll take a look at our VIL or our hail product as well. If we do that in just a moment, Cass, we'll see if there is some large hail that could be accompanying this storm. Potentially, we definitely have a higher reflectivity and radar signature right there, right around Sunbright. And again, this is going to continue to basically track across Highway 27, merge in with Highway 52 as you go from Sunbright and across the Morgan-Scott County line up toward Robbins, and eventually Norma, again, Huntsville, Winona, Fairview. You could be in play into Scott County as we continue to see, again, this severe storm with a possible tornado as it tracks northeast. Now, if you're watching this anywhere else in East Tennessee, this is the main storm activity right now. It's just beginning. It's pretty much right on cue. Here we are just after 4 o'clock Central, just after 5 o'clock Eastern now. It's in Morgan County. So this is about the time most of our guidance and modeling was showing that we could see some of these severe storms. Yeah, so there's a look at this. Thinking that was an indication there of this is vertical integrated liquid. Shows us that there could be some, there's a lot of water, a lot of ice potential in this cloud as we are looking at the growth of this storm that could have some large hail in addition to damage and wind. So again, as we mentioned, right around Sunbright, your safe place. Again, lowest floor, small room, bathroom, hallway, or closet, a sturdy building or structure. And even if you are in a mobile home, if there's a trusted friend or a family or neighbor that you can go into a more sturdy building, we recommend that. If you're watching this, again, downstream, we recommend that. Here's Elk Valley, by the way, and Highway 63 in Scott County. So this storm, and again, we'll try to slow that down just a little bit. It is racing off to the northeast. Good timing, Cass, thank you. It's moving northeast at 55 miles per hour. Now, look at what we're seeing behind this as well. Yeah, we got Monterey to Clark Range, got another cluster of storms. This is the exact same area where the tornado watch is in place from the Storm Prediction Center. And so this is where you have the greater, higher parameters for severe weather and the greater chance to see some potential severe weather and some damage from these severe storms. So across Cumberland and Fentress counties, into parts of Morgan and Scott, on up into southeast Kentucky. This is the region right now that has the greatest chance to experience severe weather as we head on into this evening. We could see severe weather elsewhere in East Tennessee as we go later on tonight, but that is what we're seeing right now. Again, these storms accelerating, coming out of Middle Tennessee onto the northern plateau. Now, I will say this. Again, the only tornado watch right now is for the plateau in Kentucky. We could see other watches issued, but we'll have a chance for some strong to severe storms between now, maybe up until midnight. Now, there's going to be several waves, not just this one storm. Of course, it'll run on out, then we'll have some more development. Okay, thank you, Cass. We're going to keep an eye on this storm. It is, if you're just joining us, it's a tornado warning from Morgan, Scott, and Campbell counties until 6 p.m. for another 40 minutes. We're seeing broad rotation generally around Sunbright. Earlier, when the tornado warning was issued about 10 minutes or so ago, it was northwest of Wartburg by about at 13 miles and racing northeast at 55 miles per hour. So, again, that's the latest track right there. We'll pop up the cities for you. Again, Sunbright now, Glen Mary, 7 minutes. There's Robbins in basically 10 minutes or less. Sometimes, whatever the timing is, a lot of times if something's tornadic, it's gaining momentum. If it's increasing in strength, it'll tend to run faster. So I like to sometimes shave off 3, 4, 5 minutes off what you see here, just to be on the safe side. So, yeah, for Huntsville, it's at 18 minutes, let's say 15. Again, could be moving a little bit quicker. So again, you've got time. Just plan to go to your safe place. That's all. Again, and maybe the warning will expire. It's in place until 6 p.m. right now. We'll keep you updated. There's the broader tornado watch until 10 p.m. Eastern time, 9 p.m. Central for Fentress and Cumberland. And we do have an enhanced risk. This is a level 3 out of 5. And so again, kind of as we've been talking about the last couple of days and certainly most of today, the parameters in the atmosphere are there to produce severe weather. And the greatest chance for severe weather, at least right now, is along the plateau up into Kentucky. But even for the rest of East Tennessee, we have a chance to see some severe weather. When you talk about an enhanced area, this is the color, that means severe weather is likely, is more likely than when you have the lower parameters. Okay, so again, if you're tuning in, tornado warning till 6 p.m., Campbell, Morgan, and Scott. And here's a look at the communities. Thank you, Cass. Sunbright, Robbins, Norma, within this red polygon. Again, this is the area, when we get real focused and tight, this is the likely area that could see potentially some damage from a possible tornado. Maybe a funnel cloud aloft, but if it's producing rotation, it could produce wind damage. And there's a look at the lightning activity. A lot of times that lightning is going to cluster around the core of the center of the strongest part of the storm. So lightning tells you a lot. Also, we look at, this is velocity. This is showing wind strength, wind speeds, and wind intensity, okay? So it's showing wind intensity with velocity, but also what we're looking at, thank you, Cass, right there, what we're looking at is inbound and outbound winds. We have the winds coming toward the radar that's showing, again, coming inbound, the green and lighter blues, and outbound going away from the radar. It's a little bit of a broad rotation. A lot of times when we see a red and green couplet, that's a tighter, wrapped up circulation. That's a little bit more of a stronger signal. Just to let you know, whenever we're tracking severe storms, when you see that, red and green, that's tight inbound and outbound winds. And that's when you have a tighter circulation. Right now, it's fairly broad. Again, we've seen tighter before, but nonetheless, it's still rotating, and we could be seeing a possible tornadic severe storm and a possible tornado near Sunbright tracking to the east, northeast. Let me say this as well. This is our mapping software. There is a margin of error by plus or minus a mile. Again, in full disclosure. So sometimes we're going to get real broad. It may not be right there at Sunbright, but it's close to it. And Highway 27, but it's generally right around there. Again, a lot of mapping software. There's that margin of error about a mile or so, plus or minus. So that's a look at what we're seeing for Morgan County. Here's Sunbright, heading to the northeast toward Robbins and continuing to track to the east, northeast toward Norma. By the way, as we keep it right here for just a moment, whenever we have a rotating thunderstorms, this is pretty typical. Ahead of a possible tornadic circulation, which we're seeing, broad rotation near Sunbright, you have rain, heavy rain. This is progression. Rain, heavy rain, possible hail, and a lot of times that tornadic circulation is on the southwest or backside of the storm. Yeah, you get the heavy rain, excuse me, possible hail first, then you could get the possible tornadic circulation, and that's what we're seeing potentially coming across Highway 27 near Sunbright right now, about to cross over, if not doing so as we speak. Again, this is a static image. It updates every 2 minutes in severe weather mode, and that's going to continue to update, and we're going to see this storm as it looks like it just updated right there. Now it's moving into Scott County. Again, there's that notch. Cass, if you don't mind, let's zoom in right in there. That shows it pretty good, of that inflow notch that's developing along Highway 27 and continuing just to the southwest of that hail core that's now moving into portions of Scott County. And again, so heads up from Robbins to Norma. Again, this storm is tracking to the northeast at 55 miles per hour. Now on that track, it looks like it will be moving close to Robbins, Huntsville, and Norma, in any community that's in between. So again, there's the inflow notch right there. There's that possible rotation. Cass, if you would go ahead and yeah, zoom on in, and yeah, that's tightening up just a little bit. See how we see some of those red colors? You're seeing it with me. We're watching it together. Again, that's the outbound. See, the red is going. The radar, by the way, is back over here in Morristown. That's the one we're looking at. Nashville's that way, and Jackson, Kentucky's that way. We're using Morristown's radar. So where you see red, that means the winds are going away from the radar that way. The blue or green colors are coming toward the radar. So you'd look at the circulation. That's a counterclockwise circulation. That's what we're seeing. With any tornadoes, it's a low pressure, just like a hurricane or a regular low pressure. You have counterclockwise rotation, cyclonic flow. That's what we're looking at right there. So that's why we're seeing the winds going away from radar on the top side of the storm and toward radar on the bottom side. And there's our broad circulation. It looks like it's just past Sunbright and continue to move toward a campground school. Another full disclosure, mapping software updates every so often. So if it shows a school, it may or may not still be there, just from a mapping standpoint of what we're seeing. But that's what we're seeing right now. It's right along the Morgan and Scott County line. Thank you, Cassie Nall in the Weather Center. Mike Simon also in the Weather Center. And we're tracking this storm. We're going to give you the very latest information. If we get any updates on damage, etc. If you're watching us, we do not want you to be outside taking pictures in the path of the storm. If you can safely send us updated weather information safely and you're not directly in the path of the storm, we'd appreciate that information and any storm reports. But we do not want you to go out chasing storms, tracking. We want you to be safe. So here's what we're looking at. Again, Mount Pleasant School, again, that may or may not be there with the latest software, but there's what we're seeing from Sunbright to Robbins toward Norma. Again, here's the latest polygon, and the National Weather Service of Morristown will continue to tweak this. It looks like maybe they've widened it just a little bit. It does include Oneida on the north end. Now, why? Well, the storm's moving northeast at 55 miles per hour, but a lot of times storms, as you know, weather, it doesn't necessarily move in a straight line. It may, but it could move in an S-shaped pattern. Again, sometimes when it's strengthened, it pulls a little bit. It gets pulled, sometimes we call these right movers. They may get pulled to the south a little bit when they're in strengthening. And if the upper level winds also increasing, could drift it to the north. Tornado is possible between Sunbright and Robbins and along the Morgan and Scott County line right now. That's the tornado warning we have till 6 o'clock. Campbell, Morgan, Scott, again, Hellenwood, Huntsville, Norma, Oneida, among the broad cities that we have included in this particular tornado warning. And there's the broad circulation. It's now moving. It looks like near Robbins, maybe just south, but near Robbins, we want you to be in your safe place. That's the lowest floor of your safe and sturdy home, business, or building. And also, if you just have a ranch or one level, then you need to be in the middle part of your home. A small interior room like a bathroom, hallway, or closet away from the outer walls and windows. If you have a basement, that's always the best place to be. So if you don't, lowest floor, interior room, that's your safe place. Know where you'll go whenever severe weather warnings are issued any time of the year. And this is pretty typical now that we're in early April. This is the time of year we typically see more thunderstorms in general. So that's the broad rotation that we are indicating. It's moving from Morgan into parts of Scott County. This is, okay, thank you, Cass. The source earlier was radar indicated, so this is now a radar confirmed tornado, damaging tornado, and there's that hail, $half size hail. Thank you, Cass. And we have it moving northeast. Oh, it slowed down a little bit at 25 miles per hour. Actually, that matches a little bit of what we're seeing on radar earlier, maybe slowing down a little bit. But we now have a radar confirmed tornado. Thank you, Cass and all. At moving northeast at 25 miles per hour. So again, we're all looking at the same information, and it does look like it may have tightened up just a little bit. So thank you. Here's what we're looking at a different product now. We're looking basically to see if there's any type of debris in the atmosphere. When it's a tornado forms, it can pick up, dirt and leaves, etc., debris, and loft that up in the atmosphere. So sometimes we have a lot of different information that us as meteorologists can look at to show us in sampling. What Cassie's doing is going back and looking and sampling this storm. Here's velocity, winds coming in and out of the storm with strong, tight circulation going through. Cassie, yes, absolutely.
Okay, here, go ahead.
If you'll pull up Cassie's mic, and we're tag teaming, and again, Cassie's in the Weather Center, and Cassie, just go ahead and start talking. As soon as we get Cassie, we'll let her chime in.
Okay.
She's got some updated information from the Weather Service.
Yeah,
Cassie,
you can hear
I think
me.
your mic's ready to go.
Okay, so the reason that the National Weather Service has now made this a radar confirmed tornado is because if we look at this product right here, which I know can be confusing to folks that are not familiar with looking at this, this is called our correlation coefficient. It basically tells us how similar or different objects are that the radar is seeing right now. And I'm going to go ahead and try to circle something for you, or I'll point at it right here. This area that you see the yellows and the greens right there, just to the west of what's Campground School, crossing over from Morgan into Scott County right now, that area that that I was just pointing at right here, watch what happens when I switch to velocity. That's exactly where our couplet also is showing up, and that tells us that what we are seeing on that correlation coefficient is debris being lofted into the atmosphere, meaning that is what is indicating that a tornado is currently on the ground. It is lofting debris up into the air. The radar is seeing that, and that is what the National Weather Service has used to make this a confirmed tornado, saying that there is a confirmed tornado on the ground. This is not a product that we can use all the time, and this doesn't happen all the time, but that is why this has been a confirmed tornado now at this point. And obviously that's bad news if we're seeing debris being lofted into the atmosphere. I want to preface that by saying that doesn't necessarily mean that it's homes or people's belongings or things like that. That also can be debris like leaves and sticks and branches as well. So just Trying not to be too dire when I say that. But what I wanted to show you was, again, we still have that tornado warning in effect for parts of, it looks like it has now moved out of Morgan County. It's now making its way into Scott County now, just to the south of Robbins, which it's moving to the southeast of Interstate 20, or I should say US 27 right there, just kind of to the north of where Campground School is. So if you are just south of Robbins or over near Byers School, also near Bull Creek School or Fairview Elementary School, you need to be taking shelter if you are in the path of the storm. Again, the National Weather Service has now listed this as a confirmed tornado on the ground due to seeing signatures that indicate that the debris is being lofted into the atmosphere at this time. Now, tornadoes can go through cycles, so it may be on the ground, it may lift, it may come back down again. That is why you're going to see this warning kind of cycling through. So as of now, the tornado warning is in effect until 6 p.m. We have to wait a little bit longer, see what the storm ends up doing to see whether or not we're going to have this extended into a little bit farther into Campbell County. But if you are downstream of this storm, as in off to the northeast of the Robbins area, you need to be taking shelter in the lowest level of your home, away from doors and windows, immediately, as the storm is moving off to the northeast at about 25 miles per hour. Let's get the very latest look.
It's tightening up a little bit right there. Yeah.
Tightening up right there. That's kind of what we're seeing. Now, this is a little bit far away from the radar, so that's the other factor that comes into play when we talk about this kind of stuff as well, is that the radar is shooting up into the mid and upper levels of this particular cell, which tells you if you're seeing debris in that level, that's even more indicative of the fact that there likely was a tornado on the ground at some point. Right now, what we're seeing is those colors kind of coming together right there where we have those pixels matching. This is just to the east of US 27 and to the south of Robbins right now in Scott County. In addition to the threat for the tornado, we also could just be seeing very strong winds in and around this as well. So again, Norma, you are right in the path of the storm. If you are near the Norma area or anywhere between Robbins and Norma in Scott County, you need to immediately be going to your safe place, the lowest level of your home, away from doors and windows. Let's check our correlation coefficient. We're still seeing a pretty good indication, kind of matching right where the velocity is of that debris potentially being lofted right now. That's being indicated right here by these light green colors that we're seeing. So that is why, okay, so now we have another update with this thing, or with this tornado warning right here. See this tag? The threat is now considerable. So because of the debris being lofted into the atmosphere at this point, the National Weather Service has not only made this a confirmed tornado warning, but now they have upgraded the threat to considerable, meaning that this also could be kind of a stronger tornado that's on the ground as well. It also means that the tornado could be a little bit more long-lived because the cell is becoming more organized as it's moving off to the northeast at about 55 miles per hour. So I guess what I'm trying to tell you, see, there's our update.
There's the next update, Cass, yeah.
We have an even larger debris signature starting to show up here as the storm is moving off to the northeast. So all things considered, if you are in Scott County, it does not look like this storm is weakening. It looks like the storm is strengthening. And based on the wording from the National Weather Service and how they're reacting to this cell, it does look like this is going to be something that is going to continue to be a storyline here. So Norma, if you are in and around Norma, or you have friends and family in the Norma area and you're watching from somewhere else, please give them a call and ask them to take shelter right now, as we have a dangerous storm, likely a tornado on the ground, moving in their direction. Todd, I'm going to send it back to you, and I'm going to gather some more information here.
Yeah, Cassie, thank you so much. And what Cassie was showing, doing an excellent job. Unfortunately, it is strengthening. It's tightening up. This is velocity, and she was going back and forth. We're showing you different products that radar has indicated, and when we're talking about that correlation coefficient, it's showing that lofted debris. It's picking up stuff from the ground and taking up in the atmosphere, and it just shows us the strength of the storm. And as Cassie also showed you, we now have a considerable tag on that tornado warning. So it's confirmed tornado. Again, a lot of times it starts out, and we kind of walked through it together, didn't we? It was broad, possible, it tightened up, and now it's even stronger. So if you're watching us in Norma, as Cassie said, you need to be in your safe place. We want you to be in a sturdy home or building on the lowest floor, or with a trusted family or a member or neighbor or a friend nearby. Cass?
Okay, so we have to give you an update here. The National Weather Service, as I mentioned, they're updating their warning wording. They are now calling this a confirmed, large, and extremely dangerous tornado located 8 miles southwest of Huntsville, 13 miles north of Wartburg, moving northeast at 30. This is now a particularly dangerous situation. This is a confirmed tornado on the ground, and due to the strong winds that are being indicated by the radar and the debris that's being lofted, again, this is a life-threatening situation. A radar-confirmed tornado, or a large and extremely dangerous tornado on the ground now, moving through Scott County. That would be right in this area where Todd was just pointing for me right there. Norma, if you are out in the path of this storm, you need to please go to the lowest level of your home, away from doors and windows. I'll actually send it back to Todd to keep talking here real quick while I continue gathering more information.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, we're tracking this storm, and we do not have any other severe storms in our region. This is the one main storm. Thank you, Cass. We are focused right now on this confirmed tornado. Unfortunately, it is strengthening, considerable damage possible, and it is a confirmed, now as indicated from the National Weather Service in Morristown, as Cassie just said, a developing, increasing, I should say, and larger tornado on the ground. And so that's a different ball game when it's on the ground. We're looking at some lofted debris. We're looking at damage likely. Confirmed tornado. So again, you still have time. We want you to be in your safe place. If you're watching Sonoma right now, again, here's what we want you to do. We want you to go downstairs, if you have upstairs and downstairs, center part of your home, small interior room, away from the outer walls and windows, okay? Small bathroom, hallway, closet. I want you to be in a sturdy home or building. If you have a trusted neighbor, family, friend that you can get, if you're in a mobile home, we advise, if you can safely, a trusted friend, family member, you can go to a more sturdy building. We recommend that. Again, this is an increasing tornado. It's moving northeast at 30 miles per hour, picking up speed a little bit. So you're not going to have to be in your safe place overly long, but you do need to take cover. Now, it's moving just to the southeast of Robbins, just south of Helenwood, and it is south of Oneida as far as other parts of Scott County, but moving more or less right toward Norma. It's going to be along Highway 63. This is going to be moving along Highway 75, so perhaps near and just south of Elk Valley and Pioneer. Again, hang in there in Campbell County. If this storm holds together, we want you to be prepared. You need to go ahead right now and be prepared in Campbell County if this storm holds together to move into your safe place. And again, between Caryville and up toward, there's Elk Valley right there in Pioneer. So heads up, there's the bend coming down Caryville Mountain. So again, it's going to be going over higher terrain, and in doing so, but right now a large confirmed tornado with damage likely that is making its way through south central Scott County, heading toward Norma. You need to be in your safe place, a sturdy home or building on the lowest floor, a small interior room, a bathroom, any small room without windows in the middle part of your home. And the reason we say that is because they've done research and estimates. A lot of times, even if walls are not down, the middle part of the home is still okay and intact. So this is a large, damaging tornado, unfortunately, in Scott County. There's the latest update. Northeast at 30 miles per hour, we have winds going away from the radar with winds coming in. There's your circulation that is continuing to strengthen over the last 15 minutes or so and is moving northeast through Scott County. All right, Cassie, I'll send it back to you for the very latest. And again, stay tuned, folks. We're going to keep you updated throughout the evening. Cassie? All
right, folks, we are starting some reports of a tornado touchdown in the Sunbright area. So this was back when the storm was in Morgan County. This is from Morgan County 911. They say they have responders on the way to stay off the roads if you are in that area while the damage is being evaluated. The warned storm has moved out of the county at this time and is now into Scott County. They will continue to post more information as they receive it. But again, we now have not only the debris being lofted into the atmosphere from the radar indicated side of things, but also now, unfortunately, damage being confirmed in the Sunbright area back when the storm was back down to the west and the southwest. So again, if you are in the path of the storm, you definitely need to be taking shelter immediately in your safe place, as now we have a history of damage coming from this confirmed large and dangerous tornado that could be on the ground in the Scott County area at this time. Again, it is moving very close to the Norma area along State Road 23. And that is going to be the area that needs to take shelter immediately if you are in the path of the storm. It does appear that the rotation is starting to broaden just a little bit, but remember that storms cycle. They kind of breathe, they take a breath, the tornado goes up, they exhale, the tornado comes down, and we end up with more tornadoes forming and reaching down to the ground. Let me check our correlation coefficient, and we are seeing still debris.
It's still pretty strong. And Cassie, you've been saying, and we just want to reiterate that. Sure. Just reiterate for Norma, it's tightening up just a little bit. And yeah, So Norma, this tornadic storm is going to be in your neck of the woods here just shortly. And again, track it right there. There's the update. And velocity. Yep, right there, just to the west of Norma. As you said, there's Fairview Elementary School, excuse me. It's going to be tracking real close to there, maybe just south of there. If you live anywhere along Norma Road, Shea Road, Highway 63, heading eventually to a Royal Blue School and along Interstate 75, excuse me. This is the storm that's moving east-northeast toward Norma. And again, we are looking at that circulation that's tightening up, and tornado on the ground confirmed, and we will continue to be tracking this storm. But looking at the latest parameters, we see that inflow notch that is increasing just to the west of Norma. We're also looking at could have $half size hail and maybe larger in Huntsville. Now the tornadic circulation is just to your south, but large hail, damaging hail possible, indicated near and just south of Huntsville, and again along Highway 63 right here. So between Huntsville and Norma, we've got the possible tornadic circulation. This is a developing large tornado, as indicated by the National Weather Service in Morristown. Confirmed increasing larger tornado with some lofted debris being confirmed on radar and some damage likely. This storm formed early around Clark Range in southern Fentress County, tracked right across northern Morgan County near Lansing, Sunbright, just south of Rugby in Morgan County. Now it's in south central or central Scott County and continuing to track to the northeast along Interstate 75. I believe we have some information about possible damage. Cassie?
Yes, Todd, we are hearing reports from the National Weather Service of heavy damage reported to Schubert's Funeral Home. Now, at this point, that is in the Sunbright area. Again, that's where first responders are now going to report that damage. We're also hearing about the potential of hail up to ping pong ball size. That's about 1.5 inches in diameter. That's what Todd was just showing you, or what we've got up on the screen right now. So we've got kind of a dual threat going on with the storm right now. We have the potential for the damaging winds / tornado coming into the Norma area right now. And then in the Anvil part of the storm, just to the north of where the tornado would be, hailstones the size of ping pong balls or larger could be falling up near the Huntsville area at this time. So again, multiple threats being observed with this storm, and I believe the National Weather Service is very likely going to extend this warning into, there it goes, into Campbell County. That is going to now be in effect for Campbell County until 6:30 p.m. That does include Elk Valley and La Follette, as well as Habersham. This does include that I-75 corridor, the 25W, and again following along 63 from Scott County into Campbell County as well. So again, for folks in Campbell County that are just now seeing this new tornado warning being issued, this is being issued with a considerable damage tag attached to it, and that is because this cell has a history of producing damage, lofting debris into the atmosphere, and we have had a confirmed large and dangerous tornado on the ground previously with this cell. Please take this very seriously. If you have just now tuned in and have just now had that warning issued for your area, you need to be going to your safe place. Gather up your belongings, head down into the lowest level of your home. This is if you're in Campbell County. You have a second. Go down into the lowest level of your home, take your family members, your pets. Have a way to receive those weather alerts and notifications. If you're watching TV right now and you're saying, how can I go to my safe place and still know what's going on? WBIR app, we're streaming live right now. You can watch all of this on your phone from down in your safe place. So that way you can continue to receive your alerts and notifications even without your television on. We got you covered here. So now again, that tornado warning has been extended, not just for Scott County, but into Campbell County. That does include Elk Valley, Fincastle, Habersham, and even all the way up from La Follette up into the Jellicoe area. This storm is now moving to the northeast. Let's see here if I can get an update here. Northeast at 35 miles per hour. The National Weather Service has deemed this a particularly dangerous situation. They only issue a PDS watch or warning when they are expecting a life-threatening situation for folks. So understand that this is not just your normal tornado warning, which is already dangerous. This is the next level up. This is a public confirmed tornado now, either from damage or from visual sighting here. And this storm, again, is going to be moving through the eastern parts of Scott County near the Norma area, just to the north of Norma, along 63, into Campbell County, and very quickly approaching areas over there to the east. So That is the latest with the storm. Again, moving to the northeast at 35 miles per hour. Let me get rid of all of these alerts here, and we'll see if we can just kind of zoom in and do a recap of the storm. There is a look at your velocity. It's right near Fairview Elementary School right now. Going to be crossing over Norma Road right near Fairview Elementary School, near Straight Fork School, and then crossing the county line to near Royal Blue School, excuse me, over into Campbell County. And I'm going to go ahead and send things back to Chief Meteorologist Todd Howe. And Todd, I'll check back in with you in just a minute with more of that information.
All right, Cassie, no, excellent job. Thank you so much. And folks, we want you to be safe and prepared. If you're watching us right now in Scott County and downstream in Campbell County, as Cassie just said, you need to be in your safe place. That is your lowest floor of your sturdy home or building, and away from windows, a small interior room, again, like a bathroom, hallway, or closet. Pillows to cover up, it's always a good idea. Again, we're talking, as Cassie said, this is a step up from your regular tornado warning, which is significant in and of itself, but this has considerable damage tag applied to it. And so this is a confirmed tornado, as Cassie was talking about as well, both from radar indications from public, and we have damage that's already been reported back in Sunbright. And again, we were starting to track this storm around Clark Range, and then it had that tornado warning, and it was just west of Sunbright, northwest of Wartburg that time. This is the same cell. So it's right along Highway 63 right now. Near Norma, there's an update. Again, the red is indicating winds that are going, the radar is over here in Morristown back to behind me, I'm back. It's going away from radar. The blue is going toward radar. This is inbound winds toward radar, red, outbound. Where you have these together, and put my phone up so I can illustrate this, where you have, I'm using my fist, again, the inbound and the outbound close together, that's a rotating couplet. So that's what we're looking at, again, as this storm has a lot of strong damaging wind and tornadic potential. A tornado on the ground, it's a large tornado, it is doing damage. Cassie, we'll reset, and let's go ahead and take a look at the radar. We'll kind of walk through velocity and do a correlation coefficient, et cetera. And for a wider view of folks tuning in, again, there's the tag, considerable threat from a large confirmed tornado on the ground in Scott County, near, perhaps just northeast of Norma. And Cassie, keep it right here just a second. We see a lot of information on radar. This is a confirmed notch, and it even may be trying to be wrapped with rain a little bit. We call that a rain wrap tornado, but it's harder to see. You know, when you have an open notch, you can clearly see those tornadoes coming. But again, it's still well daylight, and we don't want folks being out tracking these storms. But you need to be in your safe place if you're in Campbell County, from Elk Valley down toward Kerrville. Again, there's Kerrville, here's La Follette, Jacksboro, Interstate 75 right here. So it's about to cross from Scott County, Highway 63, into Campbell County and close to Interstate 75. So Elk Valley, Pioneer, again, some rural areas here. And I tell you what's impressive too is going over some rugged and pretty decent terrain here, but still able to hold together. A lot of times mountains they'll kind of go up and then back down when they go up over mountains and back down to lower elevation, but it's holding together. That gives you also an indication how strong the winds are aloft. That's keeping this storm held together as it's moving over some of that rugged terrain coming through Scott County, entering into Campbell County. So there's a look at the replay. Thank you, Cass. If you look at this storm, let's just watch that loop through a couple of times. And if you watch it and you're slowing it down, you can just see how it tightened up. And sometimes we look at radar, you can see a little bit of a wobble, and that's that pull, that winds. It's like a spinning top. It's elliptical, if you will. It's kind of spinning and forcing the winds to come into the tornado like that. So you'll see that wobble a lot of times with tornadic cells. And sometimes they call those right movers. They want to bend to the right a little bit because of the pull and the energy that's going into it. So right there, Highway 63, about to go to Interstate 75, a large confirmed tornado on the ground that's moving near and just northeast of Norma now, moving northeast at about 30 miles per hour. Christian, we have a school closing. If you could repeat that in my ear, and I want to make sure and get it right. I'll wait for you to give me that information and for tomorrow. And while we're continuing to track this storm, we'll give that to you in just a second. Hancock County will be opening 2 hours late tomorrow. I just wanted to pass that along. Hancock County will be opening 2 hours late tomorrow. We'll give you the full list of school closings, et cetera, and other information coming up at 6 o'clock. So there's what we're looking at in Campbell County. Again, this large tornado is continuing to track from Scott County into Campbell County. So elsewhere and otherwise, we're looking at more storms that are expected to develop and move in for the rest of East Tennessee through this evening. This area of the plateau, including Scott, parts of Kentucky, actually actually, and on the northern plateau, is the higher threat areas for possible tornadoes. We do have a tornado watch that is in place that does include Fentress and Cumberland counties, and also for parts of southeast Kentucky. Would not be surprised if these 2, 3, 4 counties, or 3 or 4 counties, get added to that perhaps soon, as we're seeing, again, the development of those circulating and rotating storms that are moving to the east-northeast pretty quickly and across the rest of East Tennessee. So again, there's the tornado watch until 10 o'clock Eastern for Jamestown and Crossville, until 8 o'clock Eastern for southeast Kentucky. And again, we will continue to, this is the area that has the greatest threat for potential tornadic activity. Elsewhere in East Tennessee, though, we don't have any of the watches at the moment, but we do have enhanced risk, a level 3 out of 5 for severe weather likely as we go between right now and about midnight. So the arrival time of storms is now on the plateau in Kentucky, and it's 6 to 8 p.m. for parts of the valley. And again, we do have that enhanced risk area that will continue as we head on into this evening. So that's what we're looking at as we head into tonight. We do have that likelihood for severe storms. Okay, let's go back and track and give you the very latest on a tornado that is on the ground in Scott County, about to move into Campbell County. There's the wider view. Thank you, Cass, as we're looking at more storms upstream in Middle Tennessee that will continue to head this way. This tornado warning has been extended now until 6:30. Morgan County, you've been dropped as it's moved out of your county. It is still in effect for Campbell and Scott, again, until 6:30. Elk Valley, Fincastle, Habersham, eventually, and Jellicoe in the path of the storm. But Elk Valley, Pioneer, again, coming out into Campbell County, now, mostly into Campbell County now, and we could still be looking at considerable threat from a large tornado that was confirmed on the ground and confirmed doing damage. Again, we were looking at, we can show you velocity and our correlation coefficient. We're seeing some of those strong winds that have tightened up with this cyclonic circulation, this tornado, and also looking at some of that lofted debris from this tornadic storm that's continuing to track on into our region. So again, that's the very latest. I'll step out of the way and you can see that again in Campbell County from Elk Valley over toward Habersham. There's a look at our velocities as again, it looks like we still have that rotation that's indicated right there into Campbell County, maybe a little bit more elongated from the reds on top to the blues on the bottom. So maybe a little bit more elongated, but still that tornado warning is going to continue for another 35 minutes as we go into Campbell County coming out of Scott County. And we're going to continue to keep you updated on this storm, any damage reports. Cassie mentioned a moment ago we did have a damage report. I believe it was Schubert's funeral home in Sunbright in northern Morgan County. That we're getting more information. Again, that's whenever a storm goes through an area, it takes a little while for some of those damage reports to start spilling in to our information center. But in addition to the wind damage, we could be looking at some hail damage. That's a look at the potential large hail with the storm just a little while ago, just a few frames ago, that was in Scott County, and that's moving toward Pioneer and Elk Valley. So heads up, you could be looking at some large hail that's going to be crossing over Interstate 75, again, coming up Caryville Mountain, if you will, going northbound. And that's going to continue to be tracking across the heart and the central part of Campbell County as we look ahead. So I would say McLeod Mountain, Fincastle, and again along 25W as we see this storm continue to track east. Cassie, let me send it right over to you.
Hey, thanks, Todd. Wow, we have some videos coming in right now of possibly a multiple vortice tornado that may have been in the Sunbright area just a little bit ago. We'll have that for you coming up in a minute. We also had another video that was sent in. Oh good, the person just zoomed out. I was worried for a minute how close we were in that video. But as we'll get to those in just a moment. As Todd was mentioning, we do have the potential for large hail, possibly ping pong ball size. It's about 1.5 inches. That can make a mess of your car and make it look like a golf ball. That is to the north of the actual center of circulation, which is now about to cross over I-75 near the Pioneer area. That's near Royal Blue School. The good news, as Todd was mentioning, is it does appear that the winds in general with this cell are starting to weaken. We don't see as tight of a couplet associated with the cell either, so that is good news that the storm may be now weakening as it's about to cross over I-75 near the Pioneer area south of Elk Valley in Campbell County at this point. Let me get a quick look. Yeah, just in general, the storm structure doesn't look as good at this point, so that's good news. Here's the thing. As the storm structure begins to deteriorate, those strong winds that are lifting those big old hailstones up, they weaken, and that hail comes crashing down to the ground. So for those of you who are just to the north of where the strongest winds are, the hail threat is actually increasing as those hailstones are likely dropping down to the ground. So again, could be seeing up to ping pong ball size hail now along Highway 297 near Terry Creek School and into the Elk Valley area. Meanwhile, the threat for the damaging winds is farther south than that, where we still have broad rotations showing up near Royal Blue School, about to cross over I-75 near the Pioneer area. And again, that tornado warning is still in effect for areas looking ahead near 25W, near Habersham, just to the north of the La Follette area. You are still under that tornado warning until 6:30 p.m. This storm has a history of producing damage in the Sunbright area. That's where the storm initially tightened up before it moved through Scott County, and now we're into Campbell County. So the storm does have a history of producing damage. We are now starting to get videos of funnels and what looks like tornadoes on the ground with debris being pulled up into the air. We're going to continue to work on confirming some of that information for you with the National Weather Service and with officials in those areas as well. But the bottom line is we still have a dangerous situation with this storm that's moving into Campbell County. But we're not done yet. That's why I also want to zoom out and kind of give you a bigger picture view for the rest of you who are like, well, what about me? Let me show you the broad view of what we've got going on across the southeast here. I'm going to go ahead and stop this. Look at all of that lightning back off to our west. Bowling Green, what's up there is going to go to the northeast of us. We're going to miss that one. But we've got a line that's developing back here near Jackson, Mississippi. We've got this cluster near Nashville that's probably going to clip our plateau counties, the same areas where we just were talking about that cell going. And then this big cluster down here moving into southern Middle Tennessee and northern Alabama, that is eventually going to come over here up the southern plateau and possibly over into the southern valley. So this one cell that so far has produced damage and has produced a tornado up on the plateau is just the very first of the activity that's going to be moving in as we go throughout the rest of this evening. As of the moment, we have a tornado watch in effect for southeast Kentucky and our plateau counties of Cumberland and Fentress. There's not technically a watch in effect for the counties where we just currently have the tornado warning in effect, but that doesn't really matter. The warning is what's important, and that's where we still have that tornado warning in effect until 6:30 p.m. for Campbell County. We're watching, though, as this storm appears to be weakening. It looks like we did have a storm spotter in Huntsville, or just west of Huntsville in Scott County, that spotted that tornado when it was back there. Again, at this current point in time, though, it does appear that the cell, yes, is starting to deteriorate in its presentation on the radar. So that's good news for folks that are out ahead of it, but because there is still a warning in effect, if you are in the Habersham area, or anywhere up and down 25W north of La Follette and south of the Jellicoe area, you still need to go to your safe place at this point, away from doors and windows. Not only do we have the wind threat, whether it's coming at you or whether it's rotating, we also have the hail threat up to ping pong ball size with this storm. All right, let's go ahead and take a look now at some of those videos that I was telling you about that we're starting to receive on our social media pages. Oh no, this is damage. It looks like I'd have to guess that this is probably in the Sunbright area where we're getting this from. Do we know that, Christian? Yes, this is from the Sunbright area. That looks like there was a roof damage from a building off in the distance right there. Oh, that's the funeral home that we were mentioning, Schubert's Funeral Home. Unfortunately, it does look like the whole front of the building may have been pulled off and into the parking lot there. Some roof damage right there. And now we are officially starting 10 News at 6 here on WBIR, as we have been wall to wall with coverage of this cell for a little over half an hour now. And we're continuing to follow the damage that we're getting pictures of here in the Sunbright area. Unfortunately, again, a destructive tornado moved through northern parts of Morgan County, south central portions of Scott County, and now that warning has been extended into Campbell County, though it does appear that the cell itself is beginning to weaken a little bit, which is great news here. Do we have any of those videos, Christian, just yet? Okay. We're still working on videos. We've received them. We will continue to bring them to you as soon as we receive permission to do so. And again, we still have that tornado warning in effect officially until 6 p.m. Still have that considerable tag on there. The National Weather Service is not posting any more recent updates. They are going to be, however, issuing a new tornado watch coming out for most of our viewing area at this point. Let's see if we can, tell you what, Todd, I'll go ahead and send it to you for a minute, and then I'll switch it over to the watch when it's issued so we can give you an update on that. So Todd, I'll go ahead and send it over to you now for more on this warning.
All right, thank you so much, Cassie. Welcome to 10 News at 6. As Cassie said, our longer form coverage continues. A severe weather that began a little over 30 minutes ago as far as this warning. It developed in northern Morgan County. It was a cell that was coming up from Monterey to Clark Range and strengthening, and this is the same tornado warning. A little bit of good news, it may be slowly weakening, although it could be a little bit rain-wrapped as it's working its way along McLeod Mountain toward Fincastle and between La Follette and Jellicoe. Broadly speaking, in Campbell County, tornado warning, though, will continue until 6:30 for Campbell County. And again, as Cassie just said, yeah, you can almost see this coming. The watch is likely going to cover some of these same areas that have already experienced, some of that tornadic activity earlier, because looking upstream, we do have more storms that are going to be moving back onto the plateau. They're doing that as we speak, and we're also going to be seeing increasing coverage of showers and storms for the rest of East Tennessee later this evening. But it's this area right here along the plateau from Fentress, and when we talk about the Cumberland Plateau, if you're new to East Tennessee or visiting or not been here too long, where is that? What is that? Well, it's by definition plateau. It's flatter on top. You go up the mountain, get on top of it. It's Fentress, Cumberland, Morgan, and Scott counties. An extension of that is into parts of Campbell and Claiborne counties. There's the brand new, is that another tornado warning? Or is that the current one we have? Sorry, we went off. No worries. That's the same one we're talking about. Thought that was a new one, but that we have that continuing warning though. Again, while it's slightly maybe less rotation, it's still possible to produce damage and enough rotation that we don't want you to let your guard down. Again, McLeod Mountain, Fincastle. This is going to be moving and closer to Habersham and eventually towards Speedwell and along and maybe just north of Highway 63, basically going to be tracking into the Powell Valley. So now further downstream, again, the storms, they oscillate. They kind of inhale, exhale, they kind of increase, they decrease, they go through, it's kind of like a machine kind of breathing in and out, et cetera, et cetera. So sometimes they're stronger, sometimes they're weaker, but if it holds together, again, in the Powell Valley from Speedwell, Highway 63, and maybe eventually toward LMU, Harrogate. Again, it may not be nearly strong by then, but I just wanted to give you a heads up. Again, this is the storm we're continuing to track, and again, expecting a new watch to be issued for some of these same areas as well. We're still seeing a tight enough and broad circulation that if it's indicating rotation, it's strong enough to possibly be doing damage. We're working on getting some tornado video to you momentarily. As Cassie said a moment ago, I just talked with Mike Simon. We're all here in the Weather Center. I've seen that video. It's impressive. You have a larger parent mesocyclone with multiple vortices dropping out of that. And so, pretty impressive. And it, unfortunately now, when we say impressive that it can do that in terms of the tornadoes it produced. But unfortunately, as you saw, it has produced damage. Some of that damage looks to be considerable earlier in Sunbright in Morgan County. And again, we're going to continue to update you with any more damage reports. We hopefully don't have as much as that we saw earlier, but we do have damage reports that have already occurred in the path of this confirmed and at one point large tornado. So still have a considerable tag, and we have this for Campbell County until 6:30, and again for these cities. Okay, video just in for that. Cassie, I'll send it over to you.
Thank you very much, Todd. This is the video that we received from Aaron Freetag. This is in the Sunbright area, and I want you to take a look right in the middle of the screen. You can see two vortices. Rope tornadoes looks like, but there's two of them. It looks like kind of dancing around in the distance there. Those, normally we wait, there's some debris being lofted in the top of that screen as well. Okay, so that would generally confirm that that's a tornado on the ground. Normally we have a hard time confirming just from videos whether it's a funnel cloud or it's actually a tornado, but in this case, we could see the funnels, what look like on the ground, and there's debris being lofted into the air as well. It will need to be confirmed by the National Weather Service. They've confirmed that they had reports of damage, but they'll need to go out and survey that damage to 100% confirm that that was in fact a tornado that did that damage. These videos certainly help with that. And they also will be going out to confirm how strong the winds were within that tornado, what the EF ranking was. And again, this is near the Sunbright area in Morgan County. Looks like there could have been multiple vortices, little rope tornadoes right there, moving through the Sunbright area. From there, that same cell made its way into Scott County, just to the south of the Robbins area, moved near Norma, and now that same cell is still warned until 6:30 p.m. for Campbell County that we see right here. Trying to keep an eye on the National Weather Service page. They did mention that they're going to have a new tornado watch that was going to come out, that was going to cover most of our viewing area. That has not been issued just yet, so we're continuing to monitor all of the situations. Sorry to be looking around. We're all making eye contact to try to figure out what we're doing. It does again look like the storm is weakening. In general, as storms start to weaken, you see less lightning with them, and that is the first indication that the cell may be coming down in intensity. The velocities are not as strong, the winds that are associated with the storm, although it is still showing rotation. So at any time, even if it's a weak tornado, it still could produce a tornado, and that is why that warning is still in effect. So if you are to the northeast of this cell, which is going to be for places like Habersham or along 25W, maybe near the Duff Road area. This is going to be just to the north of Fincastle, kind of along Stinking Creek Road, moving to near White Oak Elementary School. This is in Campbell County. You need to be taking shelter in the lowest level of your home, away from doors and windows. Each scan that we get, well, it's starting to look like the couplet's coming back together again. And this is what we were talking about with how storms cycle. They become very strong, they kind of take a breath, and then they weaken briefly before they start to re-strengthen. I wouldn't rule this out as the potential to still have the possibility to produce a tornado at this point, based on the structure and how it has kind of seemingly brightened and tightened back up again. So if you're near the Habersham area, 25W Duff Road in Campbell County, you need to be taking shelter in the lowest level of your home, away from doors and windows. We still have that tornado warning in effect until 6:30 tonight. In Campbell County, and if you are near the Speedwell area in Claiborne County, you don't have a warning yet, but this may be extended into your area given this storm's history. So go ahead now and start being prepared and have your stuff together, know where you're going to go if that warning does get extended into your location. Let's send it back now to Chief Meteorologist Todd Howell.
Okay, Cassie Nall, thank you so much. And Cassie, you're exactly right. You and I are looking at the same thing, and I was thinking that same thing as well as we were looking at some of these latest scans. Again, in severe weather mode, it's going to update every couple of minutes, but unfortunately, again, kind of think of the topography, right? It's going over more of that rugged terrain coming out of Scott and Campbell County. We all know Interstate 75, you know, the hills on either side of the interstate all around us. And of course, McLeod Mountain, kind of the eastern edge, the escarpment of the Cumberland Plateau. But what happens when you come off McLeod Mountain? It gets flatter, right? From La Follette and heading up toward Fincastle, Habersham, et cetera. So perhaps what's going on, this storm survived going over some of those mountainous terrain, the rugged terrain, and now you've got an open corridor of winds coming in from the south. And so we'll have to see if this storm is cycling and trying to tighten back up a little. Hopefully not. But that's something we'll be looking at. That's why we don't want you to let your guard down. We still have, and this is why a tornado warning continues until 6:30 for Campbell County, with considerable indications of a tornado threat. Again, we've had confirmations of damage from a large tornado on the ground earlier in Morgan and parts of Scott County. So now it's moved into Campbell County. And again, as Cassie just said, yes, storms tend to breathe, if you will, inhale and exhale, and tend to cycle up and down. And so if this cycling process, if it starts to strengthen, it wouldn't take long as it cycles up. Well, okay, so Cass, I'm assuming we're all looking at this together instead of just parts of the plateau. You know, a lot of times you'll get a warning. That'll do it from the Storm Prediction Center and the National Weather Service in Morristown. I think they pretty much decided just to go ahead and cover everybody. Forget the wind advisory for now. We have a tornado watch that has basically been extended for all of East Tennessee until 2 a.m. Now, we were talking earlier, it looks like we have a decent chance for severe weather up until at least midnight. Now, keep in mind, that's still true up until midnight, more or less, maybe slightly before that for western areas. 2 a.m., that's probably going to cover our far eastern areas, including Virginia. So when you look at a watch, it's the entirety of the area. But at least until midnight, perhaps just after that, officially 2 a.m., a tornado watch for all of us. So, again, so far, the one storm we've been tracking is that tornado that came from, again, well, basically it's developing in southern Fentress County, across Morgan County, Sunbright, and then near Norma and then now around continuing into central portions of Campbell County near Fincastle and continuing just northwest of La Follette, and that's tracking east. So the overall severe potential, as we go ahead and kind of reset and look forward to what we're talking about this evening, looking ahead, we still have that level 3 out of 5 enhanced risk area. This means severe weather is likely. Again, you have 5 different categories. A lot of times we spend a lot of our time looking at the low-end possibility or enhanced level 2. This is level 3, so it's a greater likelihood of severe weather. There's the tornado warning for Campbell County until 6:30. That's the only warning that we have in our viewing area. And matter of fact, as you look around, that's the only warning in general across this wide region. And we have a special statement back in Middle Tennessee for a strong storm. But again, that's the one tornado warning. And I'm looking for other red polygons right at the second. I don't see them. I tell you what, keep it right there for a second, Cass. And we were looking at this earlier. Here's the concern. We got a lot of strong winds that are coming in from Mississippi and Alabama right here. And those strong winds, and just ahead of a deepening upper level trough, ahead of a strong front back to our west, you got some strong winds aloft with some very warm, moist, and unstable air at the surface that's helping to develop these storms in northern Alabama, southern Middle Tennessee. Gonna have to watch these. Notice the cluster of lightning that's associated with these storms. So this batch or cluster of storms is going to be tracking back to the east-northeast along the Cumberland Plateau. And it, again, everything in general is moving east. The individual storms are racing to the northeast, okay? So kind of a little 3-dimension there. So we're going to see more storms moving on the plateau and eventually back into East Tennessee. And that's something we're going to be watching as we go into the evening. We were talking about the arrival time of storms for most of the valley. That's 6 to 8 p.m., maybe 7 to 9. So basically from right now, as we go into the middle part of our evening, that's when we're going to see the arrival time of some strong to severe storms for most of us in the valley. Right now, yep, it does look like it's a broad, but tightening up just a little bit, at least from the broad circulation from Habersham and back to the south. And what's going on is you still have upper level winds are what drive a lot of the surface-based storms, okay? And they're feeding it. So what we're seeing is the upper levels are staying strong because they're not bound by gravity or friction, right? So that's what we're looking at. It's still pretty strong. Now, the storm may be cycling up and down at the surface, but the upper level winds are still strong enough to keep the rotation going. So at the very least, we're seeing a rotating strong to severe storm, maybe a funnel cloud just off the surface of the ground, but could at any point in time tighten up and be on the ground and producing damage. So that's kind of what you see play out when you see the upper levels down the surface with tornadic development. So we want you to be in your safe place in Habersham. This is all along 25W, again, in Campbell County. Fincastle, it's north of you. And again, this is along 25W, and more in the northern parts, moving in north central parts of Campbell County. And along this path, this is going to be heading pretty much near and maybe just north of Speedwell, but close to you in the Powell Valley, Clarefield. There's Powell Valley, Speedwell, and eventually through the northern portions of Claiborne County and continue to be tracking toward Harrogate and LMU, maybe Middlesboro. We'll have to keep an eye on that as we go down the road. Again, and then the very latest scan, it looks like it's still a little bit more stretched out, but still, we have that tornado warning officially for about 15 more minutes for Campbell County. That's why we're continuing to bring you the long-form coverage. We want you to be safe. You need to be in your safe place, which is the lowest floor of a sturdy home or building. And again, the other reason we're continuing to bring you this coverage, it's been a large confirmed tornado and it's produced damage. So it's not just a possibility. Right? It's already occurred, and it has produced some significant damage around Sunbright, and we'll continue to update you on any more damage reports. But we had that video moments ago, and we'll continue to show you that coming up with more of those details as well. But this is the most significant storm with this tornado that we're tracking right now. Campbell County will be moving into Claiborne County shortly. It is moving northeast at about 30 to 35 miles per hour. So Habersham and Jellicoe will also be in the path of the storm. We have new video coming in. Let's go ahead and show you that. We'll all look at it together of storm video. Wow. And Christian, if you can just go ahead and feed me what we're looking at.
This is in downtown
Go ahead, Cass. Yeah.
Sunbright. This is in downtown Sunbright, correct, Christian? Okay, yes, this is in downtown Sunbright. Unfortunately, we are seeing damage to the buildings in the downtown area. The second floor is stripped empty. It used to be an old dollar outlet and a hardware store, but it has been empty for years, so that's the good news there. Also, the funeral home and Tiger Mart also had damage. That's kind of what you're seeing right there on your screen. There also are a lot of downed power lines. I'm getting a report, though, from the emergency manager in Roane County is saying that so far the good news is no injuries having been reported with this in Morgan County or in the Sunbright and Deer Lodge areas, only damage to trees, power lines, and some of those structures that you're seeing in here. So at least that's the good news that we are receiving as of right now, that although this was a potentially large and dangerous tornado that went through this area, did cause damage in the Sunbright area. It moved through Scott County. We haven't gotten any reports from there just yet, and we still do have that tornado-warned storm making its way through northern Campbell County near the Habersham area right now. It's actually about to cross over 25W near Habersham right now at this moment, and that is what we are watching currently with that broad rotation associated with that storm. We are also seeing the potential for some pretty large hail, maybe quarter to maybe $half ping pong ball size hail possible along Highway 90. That's in the northern part of the storm. We also have not had any confirmed hail reports with any of this as well, but our system is showing that the potential exists for the storm to be producing that type of hail. And again, this is now moving right between Habersham northward to the east of Jellicoe along Highway 90. Clearfield, you are not technically in a warning, but you do have the potentially strong storm if they choose not to extend this warning. You do have a strong storm either way that's moving in your direction that could produce those damaging winds or possibly hail. It might be below the severe criteria of 60-mile-per-hour gusts or 1-inch quarter-size hail. So Clearfield, either way, you've got a big storm heading in your direction. So if you are in the Clearfield area in northwestern portions of Claiborne County, you need to be taking shelter in the lowest level of your home now and getting away from those doors and windows. Otherwise, we're going to watch and see if the storm does cross over the state line into southern Kentucky. So up near the Middlesboro area or near Pearl, you also will want to be taking shelter in your safe place just in case that storm holds together and does end up coming in pretty aggressively. So the National Weather Service is still evaluating how the storm is evolving at the moment as to whether or not they need to continue that warning. It's not presenting as well on the radar as it was earlier, so that kind of decreases the confidence that it could be producing a tornado, but either way it has a history of doing that, and either way it would be a pretty feisty thunderstorm that's going to be coming into your area. So again, if you are into the Clearfield area in Claiborne County, you're going to want to go ahead and take shelter into the lowest level of your home away from doors and windows. Also, please pass along any reports that you have of damage, any photos, any of that. You, the viewers, are our eyes. We want you first and foremost to be safe. That's why we tell you to take shelter. But once a storm passes, or if you have friends and family that are in an area that send you pictures, pass them along to us as well. We pass them along to the National Weather Service, and that also aids in the decision making down the road with the storm, and it also helps in going back and analyzing the storm after the fact to determine how strong those winds were or what type of wind ended up doing the damage, whether it was straight line winds or whether it was a tornado. As we were talking about, we are not done yet. The National Weather Service just issued, or I should say the Storm Prediction Center just issued a tornado watch for our entire viewing area until 2 a.m. They have done this because conditions are favorable for rotating storms from now until 2 a.m. If you take a look at the broad radar, we don't have any other storms in East Tennessee at this moment. But what we're watching is a cluster of storms that are over in southern portions of Middle Tennessee and in northern Alabama. That cluster of activity is going to move into our previously untapped and very unstable environment here in East Tennessee. We got up to 80 degrees today. It was our first 80-degree day of the year. We've had dew points in the 60s, so the atmosphere is very juicy. And then we have upper level dynamics also working to increase the potential for rotating storms and or damaging winds being brought down to the surface. And that combination of factors is why that tornado watch has been issued. We are expecting to track these throughout the evening after the sun goes down tonight. So before you guys head to bed this evening, make sure you check back for updates to the forecast and make sure you have multiple ways to receive those alerts as we continue to track those storms that are just now developing back to our west. We are going to have to watch these for the next 6 to 8 hours here in East Tennessee before we can say that we are good to go. Looks like, again, we're still continuing that tornado warning in northeastern portions of Campbell County for a little bit longer here. Let's get over here to that tornado warning. Again, it's in effect until 6:30. The National Weather Service is still saying that up to $half size hail is possible with this storm as it is moving off to the northeast at 35 miles per hour. So it doesn't look like they're going to be canceling this warning early, but as of now, they have not extended that warning into Claiborne County at this moment. Based on our latest velocity scans, the rotation isn't looking particularly strong, but with a storm with this type of history, you need to keep a close eye on it. And to keep a close eye on this further, I'm going to send it over to Chief Meteorologist Todd Howe for more analysis.
Okay, Cassie, no, thank you so much. Excellent coverage today. And yeah, as Cassie just said, again, the storms can cycle up and down, so it wouldn't take long if it happened to try to tighten up a little bit to unfortunately produce more damage. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. Hopefully it's a little bit more broader. Again, but as of about 12 minutes ago, still confirmed reports just north of La Follette of a tornado. And again, it has produced damage. Some of that has been significant. And if it's strong enough to produce rotation, it could also be doing damage across portions of Campbell County. And the heart of the storm, again, continue to move toward Pruden, Clairfield, and northern sections of Claiborne County, and eventually will be tracking toward Middlesboro, Harrogate, LMU campus across the northern third, or maybe northern half, I should say, of Claiborne County, coming out of Campbell into Claiborne County. So we'll continue to track and monitor this storm. Elsewhere and otherwise, yeah, Cassie did an excellent job of talking about, the watch has been extended till 2 a.m. Thinking broadly now, one of the main concerns that we'll be tracking, again, we're tracking this tornado warning right now. One of the other things, what do we have to deal with tonight? Well, strong to severe storms. Wind damage. Damage and winds is going to be the primary threat. Again, whether it's a severe storm or a tornado or, in between, either way, we could have damage and winds. Power outages. So, right now, and as you usually may do in the evening, it's a good idea to go ahead and make sure all your mobile devices, your tablets are charged up. And, have a way, if your power goes out, just be prepared for that. We could have power outages with some damage and winds as the storms in general come through this evening. So that's one of the elements that we're going to potentially have to deal with just from storms in general, is potentially for some damage winds and power outages. Again, hopefully not, certainly, but that's one of the things we'll have to watch. What's something else we're going to be looking for? Heavy rainfall as we go later this evening, 1 to 2 inches plus. And in addition to that, we've already had a confirmed large tornado and damage. Again, this is the one cell we've been watching, but it's still has some rotation. Okay, so there's a brand new tornado warning that just got extended into Claiborne County until 7:15, and so we'll refresh that. Again, that's going to be a brand new tornado warning. Here's the old warning till 6:30. The new warning is going to take this storm from where it is right now until 7:30. It'll come up in a moment, and that's going to be for Claiborne County. And again, I know it's looking at multiple counties, but Claiborne County tornado warning until 7:30. And so again, the storm right now is just to the northeast of Habersham, and as Cassie showed, and maybe we'll go back and forth and look at velocity and show this back and forth. But the storm is cycling a little bit, maybe a little bit more rain wrap. Yeah, the circulation is certainly a little bit more broad in general, and kind of maybe reforming in different shape. But as this storm continues to track toward Clairfield, could at least have some damaging winds, and also just to the east of Habersham as it tracks at least across that northern third of Claiborne County, and generally close to the Tennessee-Kentucky state line. So that would track it from near Pearl and Siler in southern, or just east of there, in southern portions of Bell County. This is Bell County, Kentucky, and Claiborne County in East Tennessee. Of course, Middlesboro and Bell County. And then you got Harrogate in Claiborne County, and 25E, Highway 63, the confluence there, and the tri-state region, Cumberland Gap. And this is where this storm is eventually going to be tracking, moving off to the northeast at last check at about 30 to 35 miles per hour. Again, the circulation is not as tight as it was earlier. It may be reforming a little bit, but nonetheless, again, we do have a tornado warning that has been issued by the National Weather Service in Morristown, and now until 7:15. So that's going to extend out another 45 minutes from where it is right now. Again, 5 minutes from now, that's the old warning, 6:30, but the new warning will be in place for pretty much covers most of Claiborne County. It does not quite include Tazewell or New Tazewell and eastern portions. It goes close to Arthur, and we'll continue to be tracking, again, this storm coming out of Campbell County into Claiborne County pretty much as we speak. Again, elsewhere and otherwise, we have more storms that will be moving into East Tennessee for later on this evening. And so we've got several different rounds or waves that we'll have to be monitoring. You know, I really hope it would be nice if we can look back and say, well, it was rough to start, but hopefully maybe it won't be as rough going forward. You know, there's the potential, though, for us to see severe weather. Again, that's certainly our hope, that we won't have as many tornadic storms to deal with or as much severe weather to deal with. It's possible, but it would be nice if we can look back and say this was the one storm that we were tracking. It got going earlier this afternoon, which was pretty much right on cue. What a lot of our guidance was showing, that the discrete cells ahead of the main line were going to be the ones to watch, because it's those discrete cells that have their own kind of environment of rotation and wind, and can almost, if you think of a hurricane, it likes to have its own space, its own wind field, and tornadic cells are very similar. They want to have their own space. So anyway, that's kind of, it's a separate cell. See, the main line is still well back to the west. And so some of those individual cells are the ones you have to watch, because they can get all the wind and kind of keep it to itself, so to speak, with that inflow and outflow. So that's the tornadic thunderstorm that still has a warning until 7:15, and it also could be producing some hail. Earlier indications were we could be looking at ping pong ball size hail coming out of Scott County into Campbell County, and so there is the potential for some large hail, some very heavy rainfall. Certainly it is moving, at least progressively enough, as it continues to track. So there's a look at our multiple warnings there, again, for 2.5 more minutes at Campbell County, 6:30, but basically it's just a handoff from Campbell into Claiborne from 6:30, and then the new warning is going to go to 7:15 for Campbell and Claiborne counties as well. And again, if you're watching us right now, we've continuing, we're past our 10 news at 6 normal time. We're continuing to bring you long-form severe weather coverage on this very active severe weather Tuesday. Tornado watches have been issued earlier and have been extended till 2 a.m. And now we still have that threat for severe weather through at least midnight for most of East Tennessee. We're currently looking at a hail core right along the Tennessee-Kentucky state line, and generally north of Clearfield. I'll have to check, but there's Saxon, that may be near south of Pearl, near Siler, and southern portions of Bell County. There's a new severe thunderstorm warning. Again, the storm has had some rotation, maybe not quite the defined rotation earlier, so instead of a tornado warning for Bell County, Kentucky, a new one just issued, as we saw that together, a severe thunderstorm warning in yellow. Severe thunderstorm warning is yellow, tornado warning is red. Both can do similar damage, so take both seriously. So that's what we're looking at, severe thunderstorm warning with damage and winds. Probably likely, as we're seeing this wind energy from winds aloft being very strong, being transferred down to the surface. So that's a brand new severe thunderstorm warning that will include from Pearl over to Middlesboro, Pineville, Mill Creek, and continuing up near Kaywood. Eventually, if this holds together, that would move into Harlan County, Kentucky, if you watch us right there. So Bell County, Kentucky, and Claiborne County, East Tennessee, coming out of Campbell County. This is our 3-county region of where we're focused. It's the only warning we have in the region right now, but it has been a very impactful storm. And by the way, this is why we have a 10 weather impact day that was in place for late afternoon through the evening, and it will continue through the evening because of the potential significant weather conditions and impactful weather for most of our region. That's kind of when we have a 10 weather impact day, when we have significant weather conditions and hazardous weather possible for a large part of our area. That's kind of the criteria when we'll issue a 10 weather impact day. And so that's what we're looking at right now. Again, tornado warning for Claiborne County, again, until 7:15. As this is a look at our wind velocities, we're keeping an eye on that. This is a look at our VIL product, vertical integrated liquid, as hail as possible. I want to welcome our Fox 43 viewers to our long-form severe weather coverage. Again, good evening. Hope you're having a good Tuesday. Again, we've been doing severe weather coverage now for at least over an hour or so, as a tornado warning was prompted earlier across portions of Morgan County. It's tracked from Morgan into Scott, Campbell, and now that same cell, maybe slightly weaker from what it was earlier, but still could be producing some damage, is making its way from Campbell County into Claiborne County. This is the Tennessee-Kentucky line, state line, and we've got a hail core indicated here, and still have a tornado warning for Claiborne County until 7:15. So welcome to our Fox 43 viewers. Again, good evening to you. We have severe weather possible through this evening, at least until midnight, if not just after. A tornado watch has been issued until 2 a.m. We'll reset Cassie Nall in the Weather Center, Mike Simon also in the Weather Center, and our whole team's involved. We got Rebecca Sweet, Tavian Whitehurst also helping out on social, and we appreciate the storm reports and the information and that folks have shared. We do not want you to get out in the heart of this storm and track it and take pictures of the middle of the storm. We don't want you to do that. Again, we want you to be in your safe place. Number one, once the storm passes, if you can safely give us any storm reports, it helps us to relay that information on to the rest of our viewers. So here is the big picture. And again, as you can see, this is the one warning, well now two warnings, I guess technically, Tennessee and Kentucky, that we've dealt with so far and over the last hour or so. But we've got multiple rounds of storms. Look at this main round that's coming out of the lower Tennessee Valley and continue. See all the lightning, the heavy rain, and the strong to severe storms. That's what's going to be tracking to the east-northeast. Now, let me make a point about this. For if you're watching us from Knoxville down to Maryville, over to Morristown, and for the rest of East Tennessee, where we basically, almost as expected so far, not seen anything yet because our weather's coming later this evening. Our atmosphere hasn't been tapped yet. So we're still very warm and humid. Cassie said this a moment ago. We hit 80 degrees for the first time so far this year, this Tuesday, April 2nd. So it's been a warm, humid, breezy day. And so a lot from Knoxville down to Chattanooga, just look at where it has not rained or stormed yet. That means that's available fuel, if you will, for storms to fire and to maintain themselves. So storms and weather in general likes to follow the path of least resistance and where there's more unstable air. So there's more unstable air along and to the right of these track of storms. That means they'll likely hold together. And above these storms, if you come way up in the upper levels of the atmosphere, really high winds flowing over the top of these storms. Again, really strong winds, and that's fueling these storms as they develop at the surface. And again, you've got those stronger updrafts with lightning and severe weather, and damaging winds will continue to be the primary threat through this evening, at least until midnight, if not shortly after. Okay, we're going to keep you updated throughout the evening. Again, enjoy the rest of your night. Stay safe. Right now, we have more damage reports, and for that, I'll send it back over to Cassie Nall. Hey, Cass.
Todd, thank you so much. We are looking now at damage that we had in Sunbright from earlier this evening. You could see down trees near the Schubert's Funeral Home in Sunbright, and that's the actual funeral home building. As you see a closer up photo here, you can see that not only do we have roof damage, but it actually looks like almost like the front of the building was pulled off and laid down in the parking lot right there. Again, this is when the storm initially started to tighten up its rotation. When the initial warning was issued was right before the Sunbright area when that happened. Now, the National Weather Service office will have to go out and survey that damage tomorrow to confirm how strong those winds were and whether, in fact, this was confirmed by a tornado or by straight line winds. This is a video that we have from the Sunbright area from a person named Aaron, and this video is a really incredible shot of what looks like a multi-vortice tornado or two different funnels, little rope tornadoes off in the distance. Again, this is near the Sunbright area, and up in the top part of your screen right there, you can see some debris kind of floating around as well. Now, obviously, we encourage folks to take shelter and not go out and take videos, but we appreciate that video right there. This is in the downtown Sunbright area. We are being told by the person who sent in that photo that the top part of that building that looked like such a mess actually was empty. So that's the good news there. You can see the gas station here, the Tiger Mart, that also had some damage. You can see some of that metal kind of wrapped around on the left-hand side of your screen right there. From what we have heard from the emergency managers in this area, as of now, there have been no reports of injuries, just damage to structures, trees, and some downed power lines in this area. A couple hundred customers right now without power in Morgan County, in and around the Sunbright area. The storm continued into Scott County and then into Campbell County, and we now currently have the tornado warning extended into northwestern portions of Claiborne County. But that's where things get a little bit more interesting as far as this is actually out of Straight Fork in Scott County. So this is the first time I'm seeing any kind of information out of Scott County, actually. It looks like this video may have frozen at that point, but it does look like we might have been able to see some rotation in those clouds from this video that was sent in here by what looks like Mo, I'm seeing. I can't read that far. Crabtree, it looks like right there. And this is damage from Sunbright again, more damage around the Sunbright area. So our crew is now on scene in the Sunbright area to follow up with some of those damage reports that we have been able to see. Are we all right? You can see some of that damage there, just debris, generally mess going on around that little creek right there. We also had heavy rain with the cell. Let's go back to Chief Meteorologist Todd Howell for more information about where the cell is currently. Todd, good news. It looks like they've gone ahead and canceled the tornado warning early for Claiborne County. Now just a severe thunderstorm warning. It looks like in effect for the potential of 60-mile-per-hour winds and possibly some quarter-size hail now for Bell, Knox, and Whitley County.
Cassie, no, there you go. Thank you so much, Cass. That's updated information. That is very good news. And I tell you what Cassie shared a moment ago, the best news of all, you know, we could rebuild things, our buildings, et cetera. We'd rather not have any damage, but the best news of all, no injuries so far. So that is very good news. Again, our goal is to try to hopefully help to keep everyone safe. We want you to stay safe, out of harm's way. That's the whole reason we'll try to give this updated warning information so we can all stay safe. So that is good news. That warning has now expired. We still have severe thunderstorm warning for Bell County, Kentucky, Knox County, Kentucky. There's a Knox, Kentucky and Knox County, Tennessee. So sometimes, you know, just make sure don't let that fool you. But Whitley County, Kentucky as well. Well, here's Whitley County. It's for extreme southeast Whitley County, and this is actually for extreme southern Knox County. It's mainly for Bell County. And again, there's Pineville. Between Pineville and Middlesboro, we have this is the core of the storm. You know what's interesting as well, it did kind of take a little bit more of that northerly jog, and as opposed to the east-northeast. At one point, it was kind of moving, well, northeast, but a little bit more of an east of north direction, and now it's a little bit more northeasterly and with a northerly component. So for you who are watching in Cumberland County, and Cumberland Gap, I should say, and let's get that right, LMU, and also Harrogate, yes, in the Cumberland Gap area. Good news, that storm's probably going to be a little bit more northward, although that warning does come right into the Cumberland Gap area. So again, this storm is moving northeast through Bell County, Kentucky, and we'll continue to keep you updated on this particular storm. We'll go ahead and widen back out and reset and kind of take a look. Okay, so let's talk about this storm right here in northern Fentress County and also into southern Overton County as well. And we are looking at this storm, Byrdstown. And again, just to the east of there and north of Jamestown, that would be Pickett County. I knew that was wrong as soon as I said it. Sorry. Pickett County. And we are looking at that storm along the Pickett and Fentress County line that's going to continue to track to the east-northeast. So far north in Fentress County, heading up, and this is Wayne County, Kentucky, and McCreary County, Kentucky. And again, yes, that's what we're looking at as far as that particular storm. That looks like it has a decent core. We'll have to keep an eye on that one as it's moving into tornado watch area. But as we were talking about a moment ago, we are now all under tornado watch. We'll look at that in a moment. Here's Middle Tennessee. Thank you, Cass. Checking on our neighbors in Middle Tennessee, Murfreesboro, Rutherford County, which is an active weather county in general. That's just a total side note, but they're covered up in storms there, and also down in Alabama. Now, here's what we're looking at. Again, from Florence to Huntsville in the lower Tennessee Valley, northern Alabama, some of these storms have been firing up and strengthening, and a lot of strong winds aloft coming in and helping to fuel these storms. And look at that shield of rain that's heavier at times, but also some of these strong to severe storms. So this is all going to be tracking to the east-northeast, so this is likely going to be impacting most of us downstream in East Tennessee, as from Chattanooga, to Crossville, Jamestown, and points east to Knoxville, etc. So this is kind of what we're looking at. Now, this is not all there is. Again, sometimes when you look at a radar, and that's not all there is. The weather is always developing. You see, it's increasing, staying the same, or decreasing, but it's fluid. It's continuing to undergo changes, modification, and strengthening, weakening, etc. But see, there's more storms crossing over the Ohio River Valley, and so you've got some more energy that's still going to be trailing through. And some of our high-res guidance has picked up on that trailing line that may come swinging through late tonight, around midnight, and shortly thereafter. So we're looking at kind of prefrontal, strong to severe storms with heavy rain. Notice the lightning activity that's picked up around Murfreesboro. And so again, that's one general main round of activity we're going to see this evening, but then an additional, maybe final round of perhaps active storms and heavy rainfall late tonight, closer to midnight, and maybe just after. Officially, a tornado watch has been issued for all of East Tennessee until 2 a.m. Wednesday. There's a separate wind advisory for the Smoky Mountains till 2 a.m. for gusts of 45, but that certainly seems secondary at the moment, doesn't it? Yeah, so there's, right there. So our tornado watch until 2 a.m., though, for all of East Tennessee. All right, we've got, again, crews that are spread out. We're going to keep you updated throughout tonight and for the long-form duration of the event. Let me send it over to John Becker and Robin Wilhoit for more storm and team coverage for this evening's event so far. John, Robin?
Todd, Cassie, thank you very much. Yes, this is a storm that we have been following since about 5:15 this afternoon, and it's been hopscotching, if you will, across East Tennessee, beginning in Morgan, Scott, Campbell, and now into Claiborne, and get no longer a tornado warning, which is good.
Anytime we do see a tornado warning, though, we come on the air immediately so that you can watch Todd and those communities that are impacted can see where it's been and where it's headed. Sunbright is one community that was under that tornado warning. We check in live with Vinay Simlot, who's on scene of some damage there. That community, about 500 people, Vinay.
And John, we've seen something that looks like a tornado, hasn't been confirmed yet here in Sunbright. And the funeral home behind me, the entire side wall of it has been torn off, and you can see it in the bottom of the parking lot. Right now, our photographer Dave Doonan is zooming in on the damage and the size of the damage that you're seeing here in the funeral home. If we move across the street, you'll see that there are power lines down in the Sunbright area. That neighborhood that you see behind the church over here, that is a building with multiple rooms. The roof, and it looks like the second level of that building has been torn off and has fallen off. There's another cigarette and lottery store across the street from that. That doesn't have a roof. And then we saw a home in the river behind that cigarette store that is off right now. Folks have started to come out to see what damage this storm has done to the area over here right now, and they're trying to figure out, assess the damage, see whose cars have been broken, see what the smell that is out there is. And we've seen the storm pass. It's calmed down now. The winds are calm. It's starting to rain again a little bit, but we have seen several people, their cars have been broken, several roofs of stores and homes that are damaged here in Sunbright. John, Robin.
Vinay Simlot live for us. Just quickly, Vinay, you've been traveling in that area. What did the winds look like to you as you were headed that direction?
So we started this afternoon in Jamestown in Fentress County, and as we drove over here, it didn't look like there was a storm at all. There was no damage, no wind, until you get here, and really this quarter-mile area is where you're seeing all of the damage contained from Fentress County to Morgan County, the way we drove west to east here in this area, John.
So, Vinay, I don't know if you've had time to talk to anyone in that area where you are. If so, what did they say about what they experienced?
And I talked to the guy who owns the store and then the ExxonMobil gas station on the other side back there. And if we zoom in on the roof and you can see the damage, he just said he doesn't know what he's going to do. The storm took off his roof, damaged part of the gas station, and now they're trying to figure out what happens from now. Power's out in this area. There's a smell of gasoline, and we don't know if that's from the trucks that are moving the damage, but they're trying to clear the roads over there, and people are taking pictures of the damage, trying to document it to see what happens from here.
We just heard from Cassie Knoll saying, unfortunately, they're not done yet. More storms later this evening heading that way. Vinay Simlot live in Sunbright for us. Vinay, thank you very much.
We're going to check back with Vinay shortly, but we turn first now to Chief Meteorologist Todd Ho, who's been tracking this storm since just after 5 o'clock. And Todd, as Robin mentioned and Cassie mentioned, we are seeing more building from our west and to our south headed our direction.
Robin, yes, we are, and I'll get right to Cassie now. The Weather Center's got more updated information as well. And yeah, Cassie and I were just talking about that. After the storm moved through, some of that damage and a little bit of a break right here. But what we wanted to point out for crews that are out in the field, for all the folks watching us, you got a little bit of break right now. And Vinay just said it's starting to rain again here in Jamestown. That strongest cell is just to your north. That's good news. But if we look back toward Byrdstown, which is in Pickett County, but then also in Overton County around Livingston, we're looking at some of those storms that will be tracking back in to Jamestown. So looking upstream, again, Carthage, Smithville, and again, tracking toward, again, Livingston, Overton County, and we'll be moving back toward Jamestown and Fentress County. So while there's a little bit of a break right now, more rain in general, but also could see some more storms and some gusty winds. So for folks who are trying to clean up, just, be advised, you got a break right now, but more stronger storms are moving in. And we just talked about earlier the strong storms in northern Alabama and southern parts of Middle Tennessee, a shield of some heavier rain and some strong storms. There is a severe thunderstorm warning that's just been issued for Huntsville, at least moments ago. And so this is an area we're going to be tracking. Again, notice this is a long line of storms, and it does have some decent rains ahead of it. Now, sometimes when you have rain, that may help to stabilize things, but the atmosphere is certainly warm and humid. So this is a main line. Look at what's behind it, though. And again, this is kind of that trailing, or at least maybe the final line of what we could see arriving in our neck of the woods closer to midnight, perhaps just shortly after for eastern areas. So kind of the players are on the field. If you will, the players are on the weather map. So here's what we're looking at. Again, it will continue to develop, morph, it's fluid and change, et cetera, and undergo change. But we're looking at these scattered showers and storms that will be moving in. Some of these could be strong, severe. The main impacts will continue to be damaging wind gusts, heavy rain, also potentially for isolated tornadoes and some large hail. And again, Cassie Nall, Mike Simon, Rebecca Sweet, myself, and Tatum Whitehurst, our whole weather team will keep you updated throughout tonight. All right, for right now, let me send it back to John and Robin, who has more information from Vinay Simlot out in the field. John, Robin?
Todd, thanks very much. He's in Sunbright, Robin.
That's right. Vinay, let's go back to you now. You are with someone who was witnessing this tornado. Tell us what he has to say.
Robin, John, this is Billy Glenn Kennedy. He's the owner of this funeral home that saw all of this damage. And Billy, can you just tell us what happened and how you found out about this?
Well, I just got a call from a friend of mine. He just said he might want to get in town. He said, your funeral home's gone, and I didn't even know what happened. I heard the sirens and thing goes by my house, but of course I live right on 27, so it's not unusual to hear sirens, but I had no idea I'd come up here and find this.
And what did you think? What did you think when you saw this?
I just hate it. I mean, I hate it because we just celebrated our 100th year anniversary. But the main thing is nobody's hurt, and I hate it for the whole community. But the way I understand, there's no fatalities, nobody's hurt, so that's all that matters.
And was anybody inside this funeral?
No, this is just a chapel. We was very fortunate. We don't do any preparation work here, or no arrangements or anything here, so this is just a chapel. So no bodies, no families or nothing here, so very fortunate there.
And what happens now?
Well, hopefully we'll rebuild and be back. So we still have our chapel in Wartburg, so we can still service the families that chooses to use us, and we can still serve. And again, just thankful that nobody was hurt, and we'll move forward.
And we've seen this wall is down. Can you tell us what the other damage is for this building?
Well, it looks to me like it's just a total loss. I mean, and I hate it for our community, but again, nobody's hurt, so that's the main thing. So we'll move forward.
And we are wishing you all the best as you try to move forward. John, Robin?
Thank you so much.
Boy, that is just tough news. Fortunately, as Vinay emphasized there, we didn't see any injuries, at least none that we've heard of, tied to this latest line.
That's right, but as we've heard, the night is still young, if you will. There are more storms that are going to be passing through East Tennessee. With that, let's turn once again to meteorologist Todd Howell.
Thank you, Robin and John. I tell you what, here's a wider view. I'm going to send it over to Cassie Nall in the Channel 10 Weather Center, and this is the bigger picture of what we're looking at. And just while we're here, I'll give a quick update, and Cassie's got more detailed information about some of the storms we've seen and also what we're looking at going forward. But here's the main back edge of the line that's moving through Jackson, west of Nashville and Dixon, and we're continuing to see a round of thunderstorms that could, with strong to severe storm potential, that's moving out of northern Alabama into Middle Tennessee. This is going to be moving over the plateau and back into East Tennessee. We have one severe thunderstorm warning for Bell County, Kentucky. That's the only warnings we have right now. We are monitoring a strong storm that's basically around the Big South for it. And just west of there along the Tennessee-Kentucky state line, so from Monticello and toward Whitley City, heads up there. We're going to continue to track that storm and see if that's trying to go severe. And again, we're keeping an eye on some of these storms. This area has generally, if you will, a slightly higher probability for severe storms in general, but we all have a decent likelihood for severe weather, and we all have a tornado watch until 2 a.m. So that's the big picture. Just wanted to set the scene, the table for you, if you will. And so that's what we're looking at right now. All right, for more of the storm coverage of what we've seen and what we can expect going forward into this evening, and maybe we'll take a look at a future cast coming up, I'll send it over to Cassie Nall.
Hey there, Todd. Thank you so much. Yes, as Todd was just saying, we're watching new storms developing back off to the west and the southwest, which is why the National Weather Service, or I should say the Storm Prediction Center, has gone ahead and extended this tornado watch into the rest of our entire viewing area for this evening. So the tornado watch is in effect for Cumberland and Fentress County until 10 p.m., technically southeast Kentucky until 8 p.m., and for all of East Tennessee until 2 a.m. I think the important thing to worry about here is the fact that you are under a tornado watch, not quite as clearly when it's going to be ending since it varies so much around the area. The bottom line is that when we have a watch that has been issued, it means that conditions are favorable for the development of rotating storms. It doesn't mean that we necessarily currently have any, but it means that the atmosphere is primed for it. When we have a warning issued, that means that that threat is imminent or actually occurring. So a tornado watch means you need to be watching, you need to be paying attention. A warning means you need to take action and go to your safe place. At this moment in time, we do not have any tornado warnings in effect for any part of our viewing area. We do have one severe thunderstorm warning that is still in effect for parts of Harlan, or I should say Bell County in Kentucky until 7 p.m. So just a little bit longer now. That is for near the Pineville area. This is actually the same cell that did the damage down near Sunbright in Morgan County over here. So this is when that cell started to wrap up. It tracked its way across Scott County, through Campbell County, up through northwestern Claiborne County, and now it's into Bell County. At this point, it no longer has a tight rotation to it. It could produce 60-mile-per-hour winds, though, and we do see the possibility of having some hail. We're also watching this storm back here that's in northern portions of Pickett County. It's going to be moving into southern Wayne County in Kentucky and northern portions of Scott County here in just a little bit. It's kind of moving off to the east-northeast. That's one we're going to have to watch to see if it develops any type of rotation with it, because again, these are all underneath the tornado watch, meaning that basically the atmosphere is favorable for the development of those storms. I see some broad rotation on this cell. This is definitely something to be watching right in this area right here. Red means outgoing, away from the radar. Green/blue means that it's ingoing, and where you have the two that are very close together right there, we'll have to watch to see if that cell decides to tighten up as it moves into southern portions of McCreary County in Kentucky here in just a little bit. So we're going to be keeping our eyes on that particular cell as our next little potential troublemaker over there. Again, our only warning that's in effect for our viewing area at this moment is in Bell County, but we do have that tornado watch in effect until midnight tonight. We're going to continue to track these storms, with our main threat being the potential for damaging winds as we go throughout the rest of this evening. But now we also have rain coming in, and that may be contributing to some issues around the area too. We do have a traffic alert to let you know about at this point. This is occurring. Ooh, that is not good. That is a look at I-40 at 640. This is eastbound in Knox County. There is an overturned vehicle, as you can see right there. Eastbound is closed at this point because of that. So again, I-40 at 640. overturned vehicle where the eastbound lanes are currently closed at this time. Not sure, what role that wind may have played into that, since that does look like a commercial vehicle in that area as well. Those are very susceptible to those strong wind gusts that we've been seeing across the area today. But the bottom line is, as we go throughout the rest of this evening, we are not done just yet. Notice down to our south and our west, we just had that new tornado warning that was issued down near the Huntsville, Alabama area. That's the line of storms that's going to be getting up into the southern plateau and into the southern valley a little bit later this evening. So that's going to be our big concern moving forward, is that we are not done with the threat yet. Just because you see some rain and wind and you haven't had the storms yet doesn't mean that we are in the clear. In fact, we're kind of just getting started. We've had that one strong cell that did cause that damage in the Sunbright area in Morgan County. That same cell is now about to move out of Bell County and into Harlan County in Kentucky. And once it does so, all warnings will be expired at that moment across our area. But in the meantime, we're still covering the damage that was done already by that cell a little bit earlier. And that's where I would like to go ahead and send things back to John and Robin for more updates on that damage.
All right, Cassie, thank you very much. Cassie, thank you very much. We do appreciate that. And we want to go back to Sunbright. That's where Vinay Simlot is reporting from, and he has witnessed with his own eyes the damage there.
Vinay, what can you tell us?
See how this building has just turned into rubble. The top 2 floors have been taken out. And this shows you why meteorologists tell us that you need to get to the lowest floor of your home or wherever, because the top floor is gone, and that's all the rubble that we see on the ground there. A devastating blow to a lot of buildings here in the community. John, Robin.
All right, and Vinay, this is a confirmed tornado now, and you've been talking about what's next for this community. We do know more storms are in line with where you're standing.
And there are people out right now trying to survey the damage, trying to figure out if their parents are okay, if other members of the community who might have been in their homes are okay. And they are trying to clean this storm up, it looks like, before more storms come through. We've gotten a break from that severe weather right now. It's clear the wind has died down, and people are able to do a survey of the damage. We went upstairs here to the Schubert Funeral Home, which is on the left side here, and you can see the damage to the roof, what happened to the opposite side of the building, and how power lines in this area have come down. I want to show you the power line over here on this side behind the sheriff's deputy who's standing here. It has just come straight down, and the power company is out here trying to clear what has happened on this side of the of Sunbright area. On the other side, opposite of where I'm standing right now, there was a home that was in the water. There's a little creek that's running by our area, and John, Robin, it'll take days, if not weeks, to clean this up.
A Simlot live for us in Sunbright. We're going to say goodbye to our viewers on Fox 43. We'll see you at 10. And we're going to continue our coverage for just another minute or so here live on 10 News. And the reason we've been on, Robin, as we talked about at the bottom of the hour, is we were in the middle of a tornado warning. And anytime we see that, we come on the air because people in the path of that tornado are under threat.
And we have been watching this storm all afternoon, starting from about 5:15 this afternoon. Our meteorologists watching this cell going from Morgan County to Scott County to Campbell County into Claiborne County. And of course, as you saw, damage in Morgan County in the Sunbright area, significant damage.
Todd, we did drop from a warning to a watch now, but it covers much of the reason. Before we go, give us an update.
Yeah, we are tracking some strong severe storms. John, Robin, thank you so much. Yeah, we do have a tornado watch going forward that will be in place until 2 a.m. You see the storms in Alabama moving our way. There's the tornado watch until 2 a.m. We do have the possibility for strong to severe storms with heavy rain, isolated tornadoes possible. Again, we're going to be here throughout the evening and keep you updated. John, Robin?
BIR and on WBIR.com for the very latest.
On your phone, weather can be unpredictable. The 10 News app is here to help. Download the 10 News app today.
Every day, 10 News reporters are out in our community, listening, following leads, and asking questions so that every night we can bring you the most important stories that affect your life. Our weather team is looking ahead to see what's coming so that you can be prepared. We are committed to being accurate and honest because you deserve local news and weather you can rely on, people you can trust. Watch 10 News weekdays at 5 and 6. Always honest, always local, always straight from the heart.
America's Game is celebrating great American cities.
We are